I just realized that maybe nobody's interviewing us.
Yeah, we're just gonna talk, Jen. We're gonna just talk.
Or
You're right.
we are talking. We're supposed to be recording. So in true startup fashion, we have not had a second to plan any of this. This
True
was
to our role. That's right.
this was last on the list of priorities for the week and the day. So
It's been a wild week.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the team did provide us with a couple great questions.
Okay.
So let's introduce ourselves. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name's Sara Crolick. I'm the co-founder and COO here at Studio B. I'm here with my amazing business partner, Jen. Jen, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jenn Ciarimboli. I am the founder and CEO of Studio B, and it's great to be here today.
So we're going to talk about how weird and wonderful it is to launch a company and the behind the scenes madness that kind of unfolds sometimes. We're going to talk about, you know, launching a mindfulness business, what it's like right now for us, the amazing teachers we have. We'll cover it all, and we have some great leading questions from the team. The first question from Jyoti, which was like in Slack immediately, was
True Jyoti
of
fashion.
course it was Jyoti. We everyone wants to know the origin story, and I think that should start with you. And then we can lead into how I came into the picture.
Okay.
What do you think?
Okay. Yeah. Just feel free to jump in.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have to say, like, I'm just sitting here watching you and reflecting how you've just developed and grown so much in the last.
that's that's a very that's a very polite way of saying my awkwardness.
No,
In front of the
because
camera.
usually I'm
Yeah.
the louder, more
Yeah.
outgoing, like more forward kind of person. And so sometimes I overwhelm Sara. I know that's shocking to all of you that know us, but so it's just really good to see you kind of take the reins here
Yeah.
because the morning for me has been a little hectic. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um let's see the origin story. So I knew this question was coming up, so I was kind of thinking about it, but um in this moment, what I'm really feeling into, I'm traveling today for the first time since November of 2019, right? November 2019, to go study with my teacher, Sarah Powers and Ty Powers, and be with my Sangha through the Insight Yoga Institute. And the training that I'm going to be attending next week is actually a training that I completed in 2018 that I wanted to do again because it was the company, the whole business plan developed out of that experience and a culmination of experiences. But really, that was the experience that made me feel like I couldn't ignore what was dropped in my lap. And so I almost feel as if Studio B was born through that deep experience. So I can't help but reflect that today is the day that we're having this talk and I'm going,
Yeah.
I'm on my way to Spain. So I'm feeling like really excited, mostly excited, but also I'm so like I cried in the truck today when I dropped Tess off, my youngest daughter, because I haven't been away from her in that way in 2 years.
Yeah.
And the rest of the kids, of course, but she's the youngest, so of course, like she's worried, and I was trying to make her feel really safe with me leaving, and you can't deny that there's anxiety here in me, in her, in our home, because none of us have really been away from each other, that far away from each other, in a long time. So with all that being said, when I did the first warm-hearted awareness training with Sara in London, um, through 2017 into 2018, I was I was in like this really fragile space in my life. I was reeling from some significant personal challenges, some health, like significant um, health challenges in my family unit. But most specifically, what was happening is my grandmother was very, very sick, and she died when I was in the middle of the training. And so she and uh, I can't, I'm going to probably cry if I talk about her too much, but she was my person. And we had a very, very, very close relationship, and uh, did everything together. And sorry. And so losing her was just extremely hard. It's still hard, as all of you know that have lost somebody special, someone you love deeply. And the group of women that I was with, and this particular training, and I've studied with many men, and I have many special relationships with male teachers in our sangha as well. So I don't want you, if some of you are here, I don't want you to feel um, that I'm not remembering those relationships too. But this particular time in my life and this particular circle of women was so special, and it really carried me through that transition of loss. And what I noticed over those months is that the women that I was around, I had no interest in competing with any of them. I had no interest in um like, there is this competitive stuff that comes up with teachers, and sometimes with women in particularly, at least in my experience,
Mhm.
there's sometimes this like this edginess of, but this circle was not like that. It was beautifully supportive. And what I noticed with every single person, and I'm just like visualizing their faces in that circle, is I just felt like they were extraordinary. They were just brilliant. Um, they had dedicated decades of their lives to study and practice and care and service. And people don't know what goes into this path of a teacher. And so for me, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, what is my path? Like, because I had been teaching at that point for 10 years. I owned a studio for a long time, a yoga studio. I sold the yoga studio in 2015. And I was really, that was absolutely the right thing to do for me. I was very disenchant, wait, disenfranchised by the industry of yoga. And the culture of yoga here, especially in the United States, made me feel on a little unsafe. And that's a whole other podcast or whatever webinar. Um, but not in this circle. None of that existed. And I realized in that moment, and again, there was a lot of transition happening in my life, not just with my grandmother, but we were dealing with some significant mental health challenges in our family unit. So I had been through this realization that people were suffering so deeply, and I was in the midst of suffering. And and then it just kind of dropped in my lap. I was like, if I would have had access to these practices, to people like I'm surrounded by, these teachers, this community, I likely, when I worked in corporate sales, wouldn't have hit a wall. I wouldn't have been burned out. I could have, eh, I've been through a divorce with 3 kids. Perhaps some of those relational challenges would have been less significant. Not that I think the divorce could have been avoided, but I think the suffering, the second arrow of the hurt surrounding that experience, I could have handled it better. I could have been less reactive. I mean, all these things just kept dropping on me. And I was like, okay, well, really, is the federal government's not going to do that, right? Um, their yoga studio and the and it's a little different in the mindfulness community. There's definitely um, more there for people, underserved populations, especially, but especially like this integrative approach with yoga, mindfulness, psychotherapy, Buddhist practices, and that's really the work of Sarah Powers, my brilliant teacher, and the Insight Yoga Institute, and all the work we've done there. Um, it should be the responsibility of somebody to make sure that we all could access this work and learn how to take better care of ourselves and learn how to self-regulate and learn how to be with each other in a healthy way and learn that we could support each other and still there's enough, here for all of us to float up together. We always talk about all boats float.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's where Studio B was born. And it was funny because my husband kept saying, like, why are you doing this? Why are you going? What are you doing? And I'm like, well, I know I don't want to open a new studio, but my work isn't done. And then I started thinking about, like, well, what can I bring to the table here? And what was really clear is I had a lot of business experience. I know how to sell a product. I understand the sales cycle. I understand organizations and stakeholders and decision makers, and I just thought I could do it.
I just I just thought I could do it. Yeah. I'm so well, so I want to name, I'm like so happy that you had the space to share that, because for everyone that's listening, that like intoxicating, like, even hearing that story many times now, just about how Studio B came to be. I still have that like feeling rise up in me where I'm just like, yes, like let's do it. Like, great. Yes. Like I'm in. And that was the first time we shared space together, like physical, like, let's sit down and talk about this. Um, that was my experience. Like, a lot of it, I was just like, on that cellular level, affirming words of like, oh, there is, I think we all want that like bigger purpose. And I know I had been feeling it. I had just like I had transitioned out of a position that was unexpected, like it was an unexpected transition. I didn't know what was coming next for me. So it really felt like the universe was just like, here you go, like hang out with this lady. Let's see what happens. And it was just, it was an immediate full body. Oh, okay. You know, let's
Yeah.
go. Like, let's see what we can figure out. And you were like, Jen
Even
was
though,
so,
even though I was like, I don't have any money to pay you anything.
Jen, so Jen was calling me regularly, to just be like, hey, I didn't forget about you. Like, please don't get another job. I'm gonna figure it out. Just give me a couple more weeks. And my goodness, like thank goodness nothing else came along, because what a party I would have missed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's been a party.
What do you think? What's been like the most? What's been the most like surprising part of growing this business for you?
Oh wow. Surprising.
Because I think I will share that we have lots of many, like, what, pardon my language, but like, what the fuck? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on today? We have lots of those moments, but I'm just curious if there's anything where you're like, wow, like, this was.
It's really hard. I think that that's just true. I mean, there there's been ease too. There's been like beautiful moments, so many. That's what keeps us
And
going,
so much
right?
fun. There's been
And
so much fun.
yeah, yeah. But it's been really, I mean, I'm surprised that people do this more than one time. Like we always
Yes.
talk about it. Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be a serial entrepreneur. Like I can't do it. And I'm old.
You're not old.
am. I am. Like, I don't know. Well, the other thing, this is funny. This is a funny part. So my mom and I were talking just like a couple weeks ago, and she was like, "Remember when you started the company and you said to me," because I remember this, and I remember calling her and I was like, I'm going to give this a try, and I told her what I was doing, and she's like, "Okay." And Tess, let's see, Tess is in 8th grade. So she was in sixth. Is that right? No, fifth? Wait,
Fifth, fifth or
fifth?
sixth. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was 5th grade. And I said, my Tess is my youngest. So I've mentioned to her, I have 3 other children that I love just as much. But I was I'm really panicked. So my oldest son is 25. And so by the time Tess graduates high school, and I like remind myself of this so consciously all the time, I'll have been raising children for 30 years. So I was a very young mom. Um, I I don't know anything besides like being a mom. Like
Mhm.
I don't know what to do with myself. And for the last 6, 7 years of my grandmother's life, I was also like her main caregiver.
Yeah.
So I had at one point like 4 kids home, my grandmother here all the time, like at least every other week. And then her care got more. So like I take care of people. Like
Mhm.
that's who I am. And so I think I'm so worried about her going to college and me not having anything to do because
Mm.
I'm not going to go shopping all day. Like I'm not like I don't have other hobbies besides yoga. So anyway, I remember telling my mom like this is what I'm going to do, and by the time Tess goes to college, I think maybe I'll have like a full-time gig.
Well, you exceeded your timeline, Jen. I think it's safe to say you have a full-time gig.
Yeah. Yeah, but I thought it would take me that long, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that surprised me too.
There were so many, goodness, there were just so many twists. Jen knows this, but I'm working on this article right now, just kind of exploring just the experience of being female founders, and there's a lot of balance, and not to say males don't experience any, that men don't experience any of this, but there is a different kind of burden, that women in the workforce, especially over this last year, we've seen the statistics are just like out of control
Yeah,
with
we're
women
like
leaving.
living
Yeah,
statistics because one of our clients, like 42% of their female working parent mothers have
right,
exited, right?
right. What did they call? They called it like the mom.
Mom
What was
exodus,
the
mom.
mom? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been, there's just been so many things to juggle. There's been so much like interesting strain. There's been a pandemic that we've like navigated through, and like
Oh
the
yeah.
company is still here.
That was a
Um,
surprise.
that was a big surprise. That was a surprise. Yeah.
You're like,
But look, and we've had really beautiful things come out of all of these surprises, like it's been, the platform wouldn't exist if the pandemic hadn't happened. We really had to make some like radical maneuvers to keep up and to keep the doors open.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Sarah, my teacher, she always says that like wisdom comes, right? So as we grow and age and suffer loss and experience joy and the human life, right? Um, wisdom comes to us, and we develop wisdom quite naturally when we practice, when we do this contemplative work with intention. Um, we accelerate that process.
Mhm.
And so I think about that, her saying that, and that's what happened to us during the pandemic. We accelerated, everything accelerated in almost like a surreal there was such a sense of urgency. There was so much fear and panic and anxiety. And for me, like that healing balm was the work.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. Yeah. I I have three children. My kiddos are a little younger than Jen's kids, like, and my youngest is 4. He'll be 5 in February. So through, the last 2 years with him home, in all three of them were in and out of school. And so the pressure of that experience was incredible. But in the same way, like I think like Studio B was like my lifeboat, like being able to still log in and connect with the team, still being able to like work through problems with you, Jen, still being able, just having something to keep putting my focus and my energy, and like knowing that it was it was rippling out and helping other people. Our community of teachers, we were like finding ways to support them. We were finding ways to support our clients. And once we opened the doors to individual, like the consumer side, it was like I don't know what my experience would have been. Like so many people lost their jobs, and to really pour yourself into being like a homeschooling parent unexpectedly, without something to balance that out, to kind of, it's a lot. It's a lot, a lot, a lot. But I know, for me personally, like, and I think that's, we should have like a fun rapid fire of like, you know, our our funny like characteristics that are like, Jen is this, Sara is this, because
Sarah,
um,
Sarah
it's
is the yin to my yang,
yeah, it's a
basically.
really beautiful blend of things that we are truly truly aligned on, and then things that like we're just opposite, and that's what makes it work.
Mhm.
But I think I can speak for you and say like we both have just such a love of work, and like like creating something. And you've been raising kids as long as you have, and like that kind of shows through in your leadership. I think like it's you're you're very good at like creating that space for people immediately, and I would argue it even comes through with our clients. And it's like it's a really beautiful quality that you have. um
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. I think I went on like a bit of a, I don't know what we're talking about anymore.
Yeah, all I know, I have this thing. I never leave my hair down. You guys probably all know that. All the teachers. So I'm definitely like, where's the hair tie? I'm feeling distracted. Um, yeah, we got off track a little, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, surprises. There's surprises every day. I think I'm still on the surprises question. There's really good surprises too,
Mhm.
right? So, I mean, who would have thought that, we'd have 19 corporate customers on the platform right now? Like, that's a surprise.
That's a surprise.
Yeah, but also not like how hard we've been working for that,
Mhm.
um, and how much goes into developing a product, a platform. that's a surprise. Like we launched a technology platform, and that's why we're, 1 year ago,
Mhm.
this week, and October 5th, I think it was, that
Right.
we launched. And it was funny because we were so naive.
Yep. Thank goodness though,
I mean,
right? Thank
oh
goodness we were
my God,
naive because I don't know, I
we should
don't know. We
have
had no business, we had no business launching,
no,
but you have to launch before you're ready. What's the quote? If you wait
yeah,
until you're ready to if you wait until the product is perfect to
yeah,
launch, you've waited too long.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God. That was the hardest week I ever had. It was the launch week of the platform. My brother was here. It was the middle of the pandemic. My brother drove here in his like souped up Winnebago with his newborn daughter and my sister-in-law, and they're amazing. They live in California. And I hadn't seen them, but they drove here because California was kind of, it was safer here. And they were here
Mm.
for like a month. And my house was under renovation.
Oh gosh, the renovation.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like we had like 800 square feet that four of us or five of us were living in. My son moved back home because his project got shut down. It was really crazy. Last year was, I almost can't like sort it out because it makes me anxious. But
Yeah.
that week that we launched, I don't remember sleeping much at all. Like I just remember, I think we met with every single teacher. We went
Mhm.
through because we were having trouble with uploading and content, and oh my goodness, I'll never
Yeah.
forget that week. That was a really hard week.
Yeah. But we did it.
We all did it. I mean, the teachers, I mean, that's the other thing. Like, I'm so surprised that most of the teachers stuck around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. I don't know. I
Yeah, the patience, like heroic levels of patience.
Yeah,
Heroic.
yeah,
Absolutely heroic. Yeah.
that's
And
a
just incredible humans.
yeah.
Gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what were they? I mean, I don't know if I would have stuck around. I don't know. I mean, I guess I would have, but it was hard. It wasn't easy for them, especially like the launch teachers.
Yeah.
I don't think we lost any launch teachers. Maybe like one or two that just never really launched, but um, most of our launch teachers are now facilitators.
Hmm. Yeah.
Field. And yeah, wow, that's wild to think about, really. Huh. What else should we talk about?
Oh, what else should we talk about? Let's
Well,
see.
I guess the how. So what's the hardest thing about been the hardest thing for you? Because
The
we said,
hardest, the hardest thing for me, uh, I think, and I shared this with you recently, actually. I think there's, there are these huge blind spots that you don't even know, like,
hmm,
exist. So when we started the company and like got our first client and like, it's like, oh, let's figure this out. Let's figure this out. And it has just, it has turned into literally its own entity, like we became a corporation, we transitioned to a corporation. So like Studio B is this like baby that we nurtured into this new
mhm,
form. And there are just, I feel like not knowing what I don't know is hard for me sometimes. Like I really like there are these huge tasks that come through, and the operational part of me is just like, how could you have not known that this was coming, or how could you have not known that we needed to be prepared for this thing or this thing? I think we've done a really good job of, like, okay, this is highest priority, we have to get this like out the door. But yeah, I think I was actually reflecting on this when you were talking about how wisdom comes. And we just had no idea how much we were going to learn in a very short span of time, like a very, all things
Oh,
considered,
yeah.
this has been a very short span of time.
Right.
And um, it happens, it just like happens naturally.
Mhm.
You look back and like cringe at some of the either mistakes you've made or like goodness, like the pitches we've had, pitching to investors or the investor decks we've created or the whatever it is, like it's been wild to see the iterations of Studio B and like the iterations of our ability to show up for the team and our ability, you know what I mean? So I think like even us as people and as leaders, like we've had our own iterations.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so I think mistakes are hard for me. I want to be I want to be available and supportive to the team in exactly the way they need me to be. So I think the fundraising, how much of our attention and like energy that pulls from like working with the team, that's probably been like the hardest for me.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
been, I think, maybe the hardest experience for me, like really wanting to just be with the team and like roll up our sleeves and because that's where the magic comes from, But then there's the very practical part of we need money, we need money to like continue running the company. We need to get in front of all these people. So
Mhm. Yeah. And dealing with the, um, like the, sometimes for me, what's really hard is just criticism. I mean, I think I take critique pretty well, like,
mhm.
um, but I think when you're pitching I mean, one out of, well, how many investors do we have? One, like, so say we have 6 investors in the company made up of venture capital and angels, 7, I think there's 6 or 7. And we've pitched to maybe, well, hundreds of people we've pitched to. And we've pitched over 70, 80 times in the last year. And so like you'd think things have gone really well, you know? And like I was talking to Ben is our attorney, and I was talking to him yesterday, and he's introducing us to this new venture capital firm. And the woman who's introducing us, we pitched to through another angel group. And I was thinking about this last night, and I was like, oh, that was a great pitch. I remember like after the pitch being like, oh, they're gonna invest in us, like totally feeling it, like that feeling like that could not have gone better. We're in a good position. And then it's a no. And it's like not just a no, it's um like there's a no and like don't call us again. Yeah. And you're like, oh man, wow. And so I think after a while, you're just like, you get run down. Like,
We do.
yeah, you get run down. And so you could be, I have a really good relationship with change. And I mean, I think that's been the most potent part of the Buddhist practices for me is just studying impermanence and preciousness and groundlessness and working with the practices and feeling into like my life changing, my kids changing, all of it. Um, and yet you can't help, I mean, I'm still this just lady, doing my work every day, and sometimes it hurts. The no's sometimes hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think us um I think the fact that Studio B has grown into what it is, it's illuminated this really great. And my uncle, who's also my mentor, he gave me advice. I mean, talk about growth. Like I used to just like I mean, I would be in a sweat if I had to open my mouth during any of these pitches. Because for those of you that don't know, like, there's lots of work going into pitches. So we have to make sure we have a deck. We have to make sure all of our financials are updated. Like, there's tons of work that goes into preparing for a pitch to an investor.
And
And
now
that's where,
now it's just evergreen. We're constantly working on the pitch deck.
yes,
Like,
yes,
it never ends.
right.
Always
It
like,
does not, right.
yeah.
But that lead up, that was really when you would lean into me, and that was where I could like really support you. And then when we went into these virtual rooms, that was Jenn's opportunity, because she's the extrovert. I'm the introvert. Jenn's very comfortable presenting. She gets into that flow state really easily. And I would just like, oh my gosh, I would like, I mean, sweating and like nervous, and you could hear it in my voice, if I just had to answer a question. So I don't remember where I was going with this.
Well, I'm thinking you were going to maybe talk about when you had, so we had this investor.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. We had the investor that was like, we really like you, but we're not sure about Sara.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so nice. I swear. I'm nice and I'm smart.
Yeah.
And I just work behind the scenes.
And they're like, we want to hear from Sara. We want her to do the pitch. I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
I'm like, great. Yeah.
Jenn's like, oh, no problem. Great. And I remember you breaking that news to me, and I was just like, Jenn, there goes the company. Like, forget it. Like, I've just ruined everything.
Okay.
So I had this call with my uncle, and I was like, I mean, in a panic. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I have to speak. And like, what do I do? Yeah. And, he is this very, he's got this grounding energy where it's, he's very straightforward. And like, Sara, these people put their pants on one leg at a time, like just like you. And I know it's I know that's a thing you hear, but there was something about I needed it in that moment. I needed it so deeply. And it shifted a lot for me, because I recognized, you and I are just people too. Like, to someone from another, like a potential investor, or like someone who is just learning about Studio B, there might be stories about like, oh, they must, they must be these like powerful, like, and I'm like, no, like we're real awkward and like real silly, and we cry sometimes on the phone, and like we're just people, and that's what's happening when we're talking to investors. They're just people. When we're talking to clients, they're just people, but they're people with problems that we can like help,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh my gosh. There's a bunch of questions, and
we
should probably get to them.
Good. Because I'm running out of ideas.
I know. Let's see. Okay, let's see here. Oh, there's a lot of questions. Ooh.
Oh.
Okay. What keeps you close to your intuition, and especially in moments of disbelief, overwhelm, etc., in those pitch meetings? Oh, yeah. Okay. This is a good one for right now. The first thing that came to me was Ty.
Yeah.
I mean, so Ty Powers is Sara's husband, and also a part of IYI, and my teacher and my mentor. I've been mentoring with Ty.
Sara Powers' husband, not my husband.
No, yeah, Sara Powers' husband.
It's confusing.
And Ty and Sara, I reached out to them first because, so this is part of the origin story too, and maybe some of you guys don't know this, but I reached out to Sara because I wanted her blessing before I tried to do this. And I was like, this is what I'm thinking. And this is how I want to do it. And I can't do it if you don't think I'm ready. Like, so that was like my thing. Like, I needed to have her on board, and Ty, but especially Sara, because I've been studying with her since 2009. Wow. So I just really needed her to know that I was ready for this. And she's like, yes, and we'll be involved. And that was it. Like, and they were from the very
Yeah.
beginning, like they rolled up their sleeves. They've been involved in,
The board.
Ty's on the board. He's our chief ethics officer, and he's really, and he and I meet almost weekly. If it's not weekly, sometimes like bi-weekly if his schedule's really crazy or they're traveling. And so I think, because I want to say the practices, but, and of course I'm so committed to the practices, and they absolutely keep me regulated and clear and open. But I need support in this role, and I have Ty and I have Tracy. Tracy's been my mentor at Tracy Myers, Dr. Tracy Myers. She does a lot of work too on the platform, but Tracy's been my mentor since 2014. And I still to this day meet with her every other week. And Ty, like I do psychotherapy with both of them. They mentor me, they give me great advice, they keep me grounded, they tell me when I'm wrong. They challenge me, you know.
So
and
important.
Yeah. What?
It's so important to have people that are willing to tell you you're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You tell me I'm wrong.
I do. It's not easy, but I do.
Yeah.
I guess that's been, I'll say that's been, I'm not confrontation is not easy for me, as you know, Jen. But that's been, I think that's been a big part of how we've grown together. And I think that's built a lot of trust, our willingness to challenge each other.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I've been mad at you.
Mm-hmm.
You've been mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe last week. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I never like feel like it lingers. You know, we work it out. So.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. And sometimes you could just be mad because I know you're fucking exhausted and stressed and like haven't eaten, and as he's crying and crawling on you, and, you know, and like, so you could just, you know, have that moment and just work through it. And we don't need to talk about it. Like, I just feel like, that's where I like that kind of relationship, you know, like I could just be a bitch and you're not mad at me for the next whatever. Because sometimes I am, you know, and I mean, I could be super compassionate too, but there's just, this is like hard work. And sometimes it's just, you know, I'm agitated.
Yeah.
And I need to go.
It really tests you.
Yeah. It's hard.
It tests relationships. Like I'm sure we could have a next segment on like the impact of this kind of the weight of this work and the commitment required to make this happen, and how that impacts, you know, we have kids, we have husbands, we have, you know, friend circles, relationships, even like I think with ourselves. I think it's taught me so much about what I need and like advocating for myself. And I do want to, what's that?
You're better at that now. Like, and like, that's new for you, I think. Like, I think when you went on vacation, you realized like how bad, like you were in the dredges, you know, like,
well, you know, and it takes that space. It takes that space because I didn't even recognize, I couldn't see how compromised everything was. I couldn't recognize how compromised my decision making was. My creativity like was non-existent. You know, everything, I was completely dysregulated, completely. And when I gave myself permission to shut down the phone, after calling you the first day and you were like, I'm not answering your calls anymore. But that space, like, it's so important. Like when I hear, like when you are going away, it feels good for me because I know you're going to come back like refreshed and like ready. And I'm sure it's the same for you, you know, like it's just, it's so important. And
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to be like, yeah, I was telling the team earlier, I might like log off after this. Even if it's a half day, like recognize when you need it. It's really, really important. It's
Oh
so
my God,
important.
it's so important. And that's what we try to teach people at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, what is it in this moment that the body needs? What is it in this moment that the heart needs? What's going on in the mind? Where am I at? Like, how are my relationships? When's the last time I
8, went to
had
the
fun?
bathroom.
Yeah, laughed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, let's see here. What else is here? Uh, how afraid the passion wouldn't sell as a product. Passion wouldn't sell as a product. I think the only thing that does sell right now.
What's the question?
He said, "How afraid?" Sean said, "How afraid were you that passion wouldn't sell as a product?"
Oh,
And so this is interesting. So I'm glad he asked this question. I don't think that today. I'm not going to blanket it and say I would say for, gosh, we're so privileged. Like, that's just true, right? Like, yeah, I think that for me, I can only speak for me, um, and a really privileged experience I have right now as a consumer, right? In this world, like I could buy shit, and that's a privilege. And so I want to buy a product that resonates with me, that there's a passionate entrepreneur behind the product, and they are doing it because they are all in. Like, I want to know that. Like, so for me, I think that wasn't even a consideration. I knew that. um what's been harder for me to figure out is I feel like I'm constantly walking this very fine line of charging money for practices that are so personal. um and it's not all we do, of course, but I feel this deep responsibility to the practices that are on the platform, the teachers that are offering the practices, the work that goes into it. I know the work that goes into being a teacher, like the teachers that we have. I've done the work. I know what it takes to balance it, to make sure that you're getting on your mat, that you're getting on your cushion, that you're living the practices that are teaching. I know what that commitment is. And so the company has to also follow that path. Like that. So we just have been working behind the scenes on creating a wholesome business ecology is the document that we work in. And making sure that we are not just a company that sells a well-being, a well-tucked product, and content on the products that are rooted in these mindfulness traditions and Eastern practices and indigenous cultures. And I mean, it's amazing work. Like, oh my God, we're so lucky. And the company has to hold the sacredness of all of that. And that sometimes feels like, oh my goodness, like, can I do that? Like, can I hold it? Can I make sure that we are walking the walk, that we're doing the work, that we're making, that we're in service, that we are um, taking care of each other? And so that's the stuff that keeps me up at night. Like, so it's purpose and profit. Like, we have to do both, right?
yeah.
And I think companies are just grappling with this, and purpose and profit is actually the mission behind B Corp status. And B Corp companies and we are going in that direction as a company. And B Corp companies, I think the best example of one is Patagonia,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's challenging, but it's also like, wow,
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. And what a cool, you used the word privilege several times. Like what an honor it is to like have the privilege to figure this out, you know? And I think, I know these are all big questions. It's like it's an incredible puzzle to figure out, but we have the most amazing team
Oh my
that
God.
keeps us in check,
Mhm.
like nobody's business, you know? Like I get so, it just happened yesterday. Like when I logged out, we had a couple of us on the team had this just great meeting. And I remember like logging out and like I was just like, gosh, like who who am I to like be this happy logging out of my day, you know? Like, but we're just surrounded by this like core group of people. Like our core team is family, like no question in my mind. And all that comes with that, hey, I think you're wrong. Hey, I think you're out of line. We can't do that. We're absolutely like, no way this goes again. So this conversation is so present in every meeting, in every interaction. Everyone is constantly checking each other
Mm.
in a really loving way, but so I have less fear there because I know like we have this like blanket of like people around us that are just like making sure like if we miss something, they will catch it. If
Yeah.
we like have this oversight, they will like notice it. So that feels really good. And then when you take, the circle outside of that, then like the next layer of the hug, the teachers and the facilitators who are, just as involved and willing to,
Yeah.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
quarantined too, in my opinion. Like they just are, none of this happens without our teachers.
mm-mm,
Like it's just
mm-mm,
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah. And our clients. I mean, like the clients keep us in check too,
yeah,
in different ways sometimes, of course. They're maybe not as interested in some of the bigger, more esoteric kind of grapplings that happen. But in a way, I I'm the kind of person I believe that everything like in the everything in this life like is happening so this is actually and I'm going to forget his name. He's the um late night host from South Africa. Um
Noah Trevor,
yes, Noah Trevor.
yeah,
Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah.
Trevor Noah.
Trevor Noah Trevor. Trevor Noah. Sorry. Sorry, Trevor Noah. He wrote an amazing book and his life story is just amazing and beautiful and Ty brought this to me all of us, you guys probably, those of you that study with Sarah and Ty remember this too. He talks about it and Trevor was born during the apartheid and his birth was a crime.
Mm.
and and I think that's the name of the book, Born a Crime. And he speaks about um always believing that everything that was happening to him, good or bad, was helping him
Mm.
get to where and that resonated for me in such a deep way because like my life wasn't easy, like there was just trauma and dysfunction and stuff and so and like but without all of those challenges, without a- all of those experiences, I couldn't have done this work right now. Like
Yep.
it was all, I feel that it was all preparing me for this moment, for this
Yeah.
opportunity, you know? And so that,
100%.
yeah, that makes me feel held.
Yeah, I think I've had a similar conversation with a very dear friend of mine, reflecting on, similar uncomfortable, traumatic things. And I remember breaking down in the moment and just like, why, why can something happen to like one person and they can just like bounce back? And it's almost like it didn't happen. And then like others, myself included, um, traumatic things happen and it shapes you in a significant way and you have to work really hard at things that maybe other people don't have to work really hard at. But I think that has I like to believe that that's informed a lot of my good qualities too, you know, like yeah, like it really opened my heart to so much more because I had experienced, you know, shitty things. And, you know, you don't want anybody to have to experience shitty things, but they do. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's an interesting, I always hesitate talking about, um, I don't ever want it to be like, oh, like just learn from your pain and, you know, not to diminish it because it's such a unique path for everyone. But I feel grateful that it shows up for me in different ways today and like in this role and, you know, with this company and yeah.
Mhm.
We
I
have 4 minutes, Jen.
Yeah, yeah, I know. We have to, oh, my stupid phone keeps going off. I'm sorry. Um, I was just thinking about, I think the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows. And so
Mhm.
it's not like what, so I always think of it like how, I mean, that's the blessing of this precious human birth is that we are guaranteed all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so here we are. Um, Yeah. But are there any other questions? You guys are awesome. Thanks for sticking through this. This was I don't think we missed anything. Thank you for all the kind things that everybody's saying. Thank you. Yeah,
I love you, my friend.
I love you too, Sarah.
Yeah. Thanks for
And all of you.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is a great time. We should do this more
Yeah.
often.
We could do this again. Now that we got, we gotta, you know, grease the wheels a little bit, but we
Yeah.
can Paula will be thrilled. We could do this on Instagram. We could, you know.
Yeah. 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 But yeah, I just feel connected right now. Um, and I feel I'm gonna miss you guys next week. So
Yeah, we're gonna
I'll
miss
be
you too, but it'll be good. It'll
and
be
I'll be
good.
with teachers. I'll be with some of the teachers
I'm
on the
so yeah, I'm just like, you know, bottle up the feelings because I want to hear all about like what like, you know, you're going to be in community for the first time in a long time. So I'm really excited for you. I'm really happy
yeah,
for you.
I'm excited too. And we have to get you in out into retreat mode. So that's what we'll work on, team, is getting
Yeah.
Sarah out. So and then you're stuck with me for the week.
Oh,
Well,
everybody, thank you for logging in.
thank you. Thank you guys so much. And we'll definitely do this again. It's been a hell of a year. And just so proud of the work that we are doing out in the world. I'm so proud of the team we've assembled. I'm so proud of the work that we do every day. I'm so proud of the way that we show up, even when it's so hard.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm so proud of the way that we turn towards all of the challenges in front of us because there are a lot of them. What I promise all of you is that we are going to celebrate the wins more,
Yes.
the small milestones, those wins along the way. We are going to take the time to acknowledge them and celebrate them and be together. And I look forward to that. So yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.